People believe lying is obvious. But what if I told you it's the things you don't notice that give someone away? If someone is lying, their body leaks the truth in whispers, tiny gestures, eyes that flicker, voice that shifts. Today, we dig into those hidden giveaways. Because once you know them, you'll see how often people subconsciously betray themselves. Most of what you've heard about lie detection is wrong. You've seen in movies, shifty eyes, constantly looking away, sweating buckets. Science now says those are unreliable alone. There's no Pinocchio nose that shows up every time. What researchers are finding is more subtle. Patterns, mismatches, context. But that doesn't mean all lies look the same. The real trick is noticing changes in behavior. Because when someone lies, their internal load increases, thinking, fabricating, self-monitoring, and their body often can't keep up. What you think you see often isn't the whole story. Imagine someone claiming confidence, words bold, posture firm, but their hands lag, flutter, or gestures arrive a beat late. That's a mismatch. One study found when people lie, their gestures often follow their speech instead of leading it. Their facial and body movements may freeze or not match what they are saying. Maybe they describe something sad, but their face stays eerily calm. Or they claim excitement, but their shoulders shrug or their chest doesn't expand. That dissonance feels off, even if you can't put your finger on it. These inconsistencies aren't proof by themselves, but when you see several, you start to suspect. And if you know how a person normally moves, these mismatches scream louder. We all expect liars to avoid eye contact. Turns out, some do, others do the opposite. They stare too hard. Why? They try to overcompensate, to show they're honest, a little too intense. Or they flicker away when a sensitive detail comes up. The key isn't how much eye contact per se, but when it happens, how it shifts, how expressive the eyes are. Notice rapid blinking or sudden widening of the eyes when asked a sharp question, or sharp narrowing when lying feels threatened. Tiny eye movements, the kind you miss if you're distracted, often betray more than grand gestures. A momentary dart of the pupils, a delay before meeting your gaze, a gaze that comes late. Then the person overcorrects, locking eyes, holding too hard. That adds strain. It's unnatural. Eyes are powerful because they both leak and try to conceal. A micro-expression is like a sneeze of emotion, quick, uncontrolled, gone before you realize it. Maybe someone flashes fear before saying, "I'm not scared," or a smirk just before they express remorse. These split-second expressions betray what they try to hide. Research shows these tiny leaks matter, especially in high-stakes situations. But without training, most people miss them. Also, emotional mismatch. Someone smiling and tearing up in ways that don't align, or showing grief but not in the eyes. That mismatch is where truth often slips through. You might hear warmth in the voice, see sorrow in tears, but the eyes remain cold, detached. Watch for micro-expressions around the mouth, around the eyes. Horrified surprise, contempt, disgust. These can flash fast, often against what they say. When the stakes are high, sometimes people do the opposite of fidgeting. They freeze. Their upper body stiffens, limbs stay still, gestures become minimal. When asked something tough, they may lean back or sit rigid, make themselves smaller. In other cases, small tells emerge, playing with hair, touching face, rubbing neck, adjusting collars. These grooming behaviors are ways to self-soothe. You might see shifting feet, leaning away, or feet pointing toward an exit, subtle signals of discomfort. Someone may clasp hands, interlock fingers tightly, wring their hands under the table. Their voice might speed up or slow. Timing shifts become more obvious. But remember, everyone fidgets or grooms sometimes. What matters is when and how wildly compare with their baseline. If someone never touches their face, then suddenly they do. That's a signal. If they're usually animated and suddenly rigid, red flag. Words light up clues you can't ignore. Liars often use distancing words, speaking about that person, those people, or avoiding direct pronouns. They may overuse qualifiers. Honestly, to be fair, believe me, their tone may shift. A sudden higher pitch, voice getting more strained, pauses where it seems like they're buying time. The sentences might lengthen or get more formal than their normal speech. Or overly vague. A lot of detail in irrelevant spots, less detail in central moments. Or burying the truth in long anecdotes, using complex sentences to distract from core issues. Beware excessive explanations. When someone starts giving way more background detail than necessary, it could be a smokescreen. Also notice change in rhythm. Speech that accelerates when they sense suspicion or slows down when they want you to believe they're gathering thoughts. All of this adds weight when layered with what their body is doing. But one voice shift alone isn't enough. It needs company. One weird gesture doesn't make someone a liar. What matters is clusters of cues, several signals appearing together. And context. Is the person under pressure? Are consequences big if they're caught? Baseline is critical. How do they behave when they're relaxed or when telling the truth? Also culture. What might be normal eye contact or gesture in one culture is strange in another. When stakes go up, signs intensify. Freezes turn into more obvious tells. Micro-expressions happen more often. Verbal hesitation grows. Sometimes people lying about small things show the same cues, just less intense. Sometimes big lies bring a flood of signals. If you want to reliably spot deceit, train to watch for patterns, not pick a single move and assume the worst. Here's something most people miss. Sometimes the liar isn't fully lying. They may believe parts of their own lie, or they rationalize. This blurring makes detection far harder. Also, many of the red flags we chalk up to lying are also signs of everyday stress, nervousness, or guilt. That means you'll sometimes see them even when someone's being honest. So, you think you're catching a lie, but you're reacting to your own bias. Being human means we overinterpret. Recognizing that makes you sharper. You don't assume, you verify. You stay curious, and you don't let your gut be fooled. There are moments where the truth hides in silence. Someone pausing, avoiding certain topics, their eyes darting to nothing. Silence can be louder than words. When someone stops mid-sentence, takes a breath that holds too long, all of that can be a signal. Also, watch how they respond emotionally. Do they seem overly anxious to wrap up? Do they change the subject or inject humor to deflect? These transitions are revealing. We've covered myths, speech gesture mismatches, eye behavior, micro-expressions, movement, voice, how all these weave together, plus how silence and transitions play a role. The hidden truth is in the small shifts. The body can't always lie. Detecting lies isn't about making someone feel guilty. It's about seeing inconsistency, respecting context, and separating truth from guesswork. Next time you sense something is off, ask, what changed? What feels different? Because truth isn't loud. It whispers. Now, your mind is probably searching your memory. Did you notice something odd in your last conversation? That hesitation, that flicker, that moment their voice cracked. Train that muscle. Look back. As you do this, don't become cynical, become aware. Because the more you spot these leaks, the less power lies have over you.